parents were taking off of work to bring their children to the hospital for us to see them once a week for 30 minutes or an hour. And they're holding on to these hopes that I'm going to fix their kid. And I was like, this isn't working. You don't need an OT appointment once a week. You can raise your child from that place of supporting their nervous system on a daily basis. And that is truly what the child needs at the end of the day. The parent needs to become the expert to then be able to model as well as support and teach the child how to regulate their own nervous system and how to support their brain and how their brain functions and all the different things.
Hello, welcome back to Humanize Your Brand. We are super pumped today. We have a friend that originally I met through Jules by me, who we ended up becoming softball buddies because the girls and kids are at softball.
Not that they play softball, but the kids play softball. I just want to make sure we're all clear.
And so we've become friends with Brooke, and we thought, oh my gosh, she's so authentically herself. She's killing it as a fempreneur and a mama and all the things. She'd be such an amazing guest for Humanize Your Brand. And so before you start yapping, I want to read your fish.
Even though she's a friend, you can't be like, start yapping. Like,
what? She's a friend too.
Oh, you can say that. I'm good.
What? This is what we do.
Okay.
So Dr. Brooke Weinstein is an occupational therapist and leading expert in neuroscience-based sensory and emotional regulation, blending clinical training with lived experience, raising 2 kids on her own, caregiving for her now late husband, and building a pediatric clinic. She's a lady boss that translates brain science into everyday tools. She does one-on-one consulting. She has live group programs and on-demand courses. She's helping high-achieving adults and families regulate their nervous systems, reduce overwhelm, and create lives they love, which, holy smokes, Josh and I got a lot of that inside our family. That's why we have a lot of questions for you today, Brooke.
Okay, so this is like not so much a podcast. This is we're going to get therapy session.
Yeah, it's a therapy session, essentially. So her work centers on trauma, brain function, and sensory processing delivered with evidence-based practical strategies. And my gosh, big T trauma, a lot going on around here. She's been featured by Today's Parent, Motherly, NBC, BuzzFeed, Scary Mommy, Today Parenting Team, Forbes, 23,000 plus subscribers on YouTube. She's 2023 Brains CREA Global Award winner. She's just pretty much everything.
Yeah, you're just like saying it all. My gosh.
I know. Just like, here she is. Welcome to Humanize. My God, Brooke, we have like a lot of questions for you.
Okay. I'm ready.
And you have the podcast, which actually isn't in this bio, but you have your own podcast, Thrive Like a Parent.
Yep.
We need Thrive Like a Parent. I mean, let's unpack that one.
well, first, I think one of the amazing, your story is just really unique, right? So you're an occupational therapist. Can you talk a little bit about like what you were doing and then this journey and why you shifted into what you're doing today? And really, truly, what is it that you're teaching?
Yeah. So I graduated with my doctorate in 2011, moved back to New Orleans, and I worked in a hospital setting, which is like what I wanted to do. I was like, if I have to move back to New Orleans, I'm working at Children's Hospital. Like, that's the only job I want. Luckily, they had an opening and I got a job after I did all my clinical rotations and my doctorate rotation and all the different things. I was there for about a year and a half and I was like, this shit's not working. Like, this is not, like, the medical model is so broken. Parents were taking off of work to bring their children to the hospital for us to see them once a week for 30 minutes or an hour. And they're like holding on to these hopes that I'm going to like fix their kid and all these goals. And I was like, this isn't working. Yes, if the child was in the hospital and they were in rehab, that's a completely different thing. If you're in rehab, you see OT every single day. In the NICU, or if you're actually in the hospital, you are seen by an OT or PT or speech most days, right? But when it's more of outpatient, there's just not a lot of interaction. And so we can't get as much work done as I'd like to. And I was like, "This is just not working." It was still like handwritten notes. We didn't have computer documentation at the time. I feel like that ages me, but more so the hospital was really behind, okay? Because electronic documentation already existed, okay? So I'm not that old, but the hospital was just really far behind. And so I decided as a very young clinician, I was like, I need to do something different. This is not working. Like I cannot keep doing this. This is like a lie. This feels like it's just taking money from parents with their insurance. And this just isn't working. Like it just felt ick. And so as a very, very young clinician, I decided to open my own clinic. I had absolutely no idea what the fuck I was doing. I did it with a business partner. We started out actually renting out one room in a synagogue, just renting out a room and like doing our business through there. And by the time I sold it to her, we were in like a 3,000 square foot facility, full blown staff with PT, OT speech, taking and credentialed with all the different insurances and had full caseloads, had, summer camps for kids, handwriting clinics. We had contracts with medical daycares, we had contracts with schools. So we really built what you consider a classic outpatient facility for things like OT, PT, speech. And I was like, I am not happy. Like this isn't working. And even though we set out to build a system that was different from what was already out there, and we wanted the parents really, really involved, and we wanted to be able to really give the child like client-centered care, which basically means helping the child learn the things they need to learn through activities and things that they actually enjoy doing, not just like, "Here's a puzzle, let's work on your fine motor skills." I felt like when the opportunity was presented to my late husband, Jonathan, to move here to Texas, my family was all of them were like, "What are you doing? Like, you're a businesswoman too. Like, what about your career?" And I kinda had to silence the noise and say, "Brooke, what do you want? Like, where are you at? How are you doing?" And I recognized that I had already had 2 children. I found out, like, the week I left Children's Hospital, I was pregnant. So, this is fast forwarding, right? A handful of years. I had 2 preemies, continued working all through their NICU stays, and I was also taking care of a husband who was severely depressed and just wasn't doing well. And I just recognized I was doing so many things, but none of them very well at all. And that kind of led me to the decision to sell that business to my business partner. It was definitely like a business divorce. She was not happy. She got into that business with me because she didn't want to do it alone, and I very much understood that. But I had to do what was best for myself and for my family, and that was kind of step away from New Orleans and figure out what was going on with my nuclear family in terms of Jonathan, myself, and the kids. And so we packed up and he took the job and we moved here. I took some time off and figured out what went well in that business, what didn't go well, what would I have done differently, what I would have done the same if I could do it over again. And it all kind of came to the conclusion that, like, again, even though I tried to shift and change what wasn't working in the medical model in the hospital, I still felt like when I would go out and talk to the parents or I'd want them to come in and watch the session, they're like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, I got to go to the grocery. Like, fix my child," which is understandable. They're like, "You're the professional, like, figure it out." Right. They are offloading onto us because there's so much on us as parents to do. And so what I recognize is the reason the treatment wasn't working is because it doesn't start with the child. It starts with the parents. It starts with us figuring out how do our brains function and how do our children's brain functions. And there's no way that we can support our children in the way that they actually need unless we understand how their brain functions. And in order for you to understand that in terms of your child, you first must understand and be able to literally feel and physically understand how to know how your brain functions. Every single one of our brains function differently. We all have different makeups and mappings of our brains. And what I now do is teach big children how to, right? How to learn how their brain functions, how to regulate their nervous system, how to take care and support their brain. And the minute it like all clicks, it's like magic. It's like, oh my God, I get it. Oh my God, like, got it. You can see it so much more clearly on your child that you don't need an OT appointment once a week. You can raise your child from that place of supporting their nervous system on a daily basis. And that is truly what the child needs at the end of the day, is living from that space, not just having a once a week standing appointment with an OT, right? The parent needs to become the expert to then be able to model as well as support and teach the child how to regulate their own nervous system and how to support their brain and how their brain functions and all the different things.
I mean, it's amazing your journey and what you actually set out to do, and then understood that whatever you set out to do the first time wasn't working, the second time, and then, the third time, and this is that most people get stopped at that first time. And I mean, as speaking as someone as a parent, which Brooke, we've gone through our own struggles. I mean,
Going through.
going through, yeah. I mean, like with my kids, I mean, I truly feel the only reason why my kids starting to do better, because I had to really go to 300% parent. Rachel allowed that, and she was right next to me, and to do it. And I fought the doctors on a lot of the stuff that they just wanted to drug the kids up and being able to do this. And we talk about this all the time. Like, I don't understand how the average person in this world can do this, because it is a full-time job taking care of kids, especially if they have mental health or other issues that are going on. You talk about one appointment, try 3 or 4 a week, and run your own company and afford the services that actually aren't helping the kids at all.
Yeah, it's a really unfortunate system that we live in and world that we live in right now in terms of access, as well as doctors don't know what they used to know. They're very rigid in their old school way of thinking. And that's why new things such as like when I first started this, and one of the things that I decided was I had a brick and mortar, and I was like, that's one of the things as I processed through. I was like, I don't want to do that again. I don't want to have a brick and mortar. There's a lot of upkeep. If the alarm goes off in the middle of the night, I need to make sure there's a cleaning service. There's just things that you don't even think about until you're in it. And you're like, oh, who's going to like clean the toilets? It's not me because I got to go clean my kids' toilets. Like what, how are we gonna, right? Like, how are we gonna do, which I don't clean my children's toilets. I don't even go in there. Okay. When they get to high school, I'll change out the toilet and then I'll go in there. That's a whole nother subject. But, like, no, pass. But like there's so many things that I saw. Okay, this is what I don't want to do. And when I first started doing this, I gotta tell you, people thought I was absolutely bad crazy. They're like, what are you doing? Like, and in the beginning, I had to use words like burnout and overwhelm. Are you exhausted? Are you tired? Are you fighting with your partner? Are you sad? Like, no one understood, especially when I first started, like back up 5, 6 years ago, no one knew the term fight or flight on a regular basis. No one understood what that meant. No one understood or used the word in like everyday sentences, dysregulation. No one used the word, gosh, I just need to regulate. No one used, oh, that's your sensory system. Like, no one knew any of this, like, no one. And I think that it took time to kind of take my audience on a journey and to trust me. And then I was like, it's time. And I just like was like, F it. And I just started talking about all the different things. And I'm not saying that I'm the only one that's talking about this and all of that. But it was just so new when I first started it. And to be honest with you, yes, it is my world. Yes, all the people within my community or who watch my stuff, like, or who work with us understand or know more the language, but there's still 90% of the world who does not understand like lick of this information. They have no fucking idea how their brain works. They have no idea what's going to support them. They have no idea how to support themselves or their children or their partnership, and it's just not good. It's just not.
And the way the world is moving forward, right? I mean, like, it's not just Rachel and I were just having the conversation. It's like how can we even try to understand that aspect? And we can only control what we can, but then the kids have access to other things, to what's going on in the world right now, to all the different things. So there's only so much you can control. So if there's already craziness going on at home, and then there's craziness going on in the world, like, yeah.
Well, there's like we could talk to Brooke about so many things, and actually, we have a couple questions for you, like offline. Um,
Is it about me?
no, no, I
Okay.
think it's about some of the treatments,
Yeah.
but like a couple of things I think that we definitely I want to talk about like the actual work that you do, but then also I think since this is Humanize Your Brand, how you've built your brand and the way in which you've gone about it is, really, I think kind of marvelous. So I think one thing is like when you say dysregulation and you're saying that these are kind of common, and you're right. I mean, I would say barely. Like my mom and dad don't certainly talk like that, but like my people are starting to understand like, oh, I'm dysregulated. And you're right. I've started to use that terminology because we've been having so many mental health challenges with the kids. And I have been feeling, and Josh, we've had severe burnout, adrenal fatigue, like
Cortisol,
all
I should say.
all those things. So
Yeah.
can you like talk a little bit about the dysregulation that you're witnessing and how people can witness that for themselves?
It's extremely difficult for someone to witness that within themselves unless they actually know what they're doing, understand the information, or they have a guide. And that's just kind of like blunt. Yes, there's a lot of people who say, I can help you regulate your nervous system, where there's a lot of shit online where they're like, shove your face in a bucket of ice water, or just like wiggle and shake and somatic healing. And all of that's just like clickbait. It's all bullshit. It's like Rachel, if like one of the kids is like having a meltdown, like, do you feel like you're going to be like, hold on, let me go grab a bucket of ice water. I just need to do this for a second. And then I'm going to really be able to show up for you and be present. Like, no,
I
like,
don't know if she's gonna get ice water for her. She might get a bucket of ice water and throw it on the kids, see if
that's
they.
exactly right. Like, I mean, but it's so once you understand what dysregulation is, which is basically like your brain is kind of on fire. When you're dysregulated, you're mostly living in a state of fight or flight. And I explain the brain as it is like a smoke detector, right? So your smoke detector is always sniffing out whether there's smoke in the area, and then it's going to sound the alarm so that you can stop, drop, and roll and get out a burning building and save yourself, right? So that is what your nervous system is doing. It is when you're dysregulated or when you're in fight or flight, your smoke detector is trying to say alert, 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 like check engine, right? Or like go change the oil in your car, right? But your smoke detector is so highly, highly sensitive because the way that our brains were meant to function, we were not meant to function in this like staying in this state of fight or flight. We were meant to be able to, if someone's driving down the wrong side of the road, be able to slam on the brakes, swerve, and get out of the way and whew, like use the cortisol, have that all those hormones be pumped through, utilize it, but then come down. But the way in which the world is speeding up so incredibly fast, we are forced to be running on a hamster wheel 24/7. And so usually when our clients come to us, it's a lot of yo-yoing. It's almost like peaks and valleys. So it's like, I'm great. And then it's like, and they're like losing it and they're having like a mental breakdown. And then they're like, oh no, I'm great now. I had the breakdown. I'm good. Right. And so what we try to do with our clients is get you to a place where it's almost like rolling hills or like waves in the ocean. Right. So the window of tolerance is much smaller and your ability to maintain a more regulated state and not live in a state of fight or flight for an extended period of time or for years. A lot of our clients are like, I really think I've been in this state for many, many years. And what happens when you're in that state is that your brain is offline. Like your brain is supposed to be offline because it is protecting you from whatever the threat is, right? So I'm sure somehow everyone listening to this has seen a movie or something that it's like, I woke up in the hospital. I don't where did like why am I here? What happened? Right? Like I don't remember the crash site. I don't remember any of that. Yeah, you're not supposed to because that's how brilliant our brains are and that's how they have the ability, like they meaning our brain has the ability to take care of us, right? But we are completely ignoring the cues. We are completely ignoring the check engine light. We are completely ignoring the put more oil, right? Or change the oil in your car. And so what we do is we have to help our clients then be able to literally feel it and see it within and on themselves. And that is an extended process. This is not an overnight thing. You cannot get a quick fix for your nervous system. I'm not going to tell you to journal, box, breathe, and meditate because who the has time for that, right? But I am going to teach you how your brain functions individually, right? And I am going to teach you and help you and co create what works for you, right? Like Rachel, I know that you work out. I know that you do the Peloton and things like that and walking. Like maybe some of those are your regulation tools, right? For someone else, it might be yoga and kickboxing and who knows, right? And maybe it is journaling, right? Like to each their own. But we have to be able to figure out what is going to support your brain best, and that depends on the makeup of your literal brain of like, are you a seeker? Are you an avoider? Are you low registration? Are you all these different things? So we have to understand the map of your brain.
How do we know the map of our brain?
I give you a standardized assessment and I teach you that.
And I got to get this out there because my ADHD will just keep in the same loop. You're like when the brain turns off and you're in fight or flight. Of course, you gave a great example, but at the same time, in my mind, I'm like, I finally know now why in the scary movies they always run upstairs. You're like, what are you running upstairs for? Their brain's off. Like don't run upstairs. You're gonna be stuck in the house. Get the hell out of the house.
Exactly. Yeah. And one thing we haven't touched on yet is, yes, you did mention that I have a late husband. My husband did pass away, and my husband took his own life. And when I got the call, I was literally sitting in the chair and I jumped. And I jumped from like back by the porch and I ran all the way to like right by the stairs and I just dropped. And it really does demonstrate like your brain does like it's like a shot of adrenaline and it's like whoop and it's like okay, here we go. But a lot of people stay there. A lot of people don't know how to come down from that state. A lot of people, like, think of people who are retiring, right? That's a lovely idea. But some people are like, oh, I'm never going to retire. I wouldn't know what to do with myself. That's because they're not used to learning how to function in another state besides that hamster wheel.
I definitely don't.
You're probably.
No, but I can't speak for anybody else but myself. But like I definitely
Well,
don't.
you always tell me too.
I struggle. Like if it's when it's time with like
I'm off or on.
so
I'm
tell me
black and
about
white.
it. So is there like a male female thing or is it's also I guess individual, but like my brain's always going.
I'm either all
I'm
in or all
sitting
out.
on the couch on the weekend when I have downtime, when Ava's down or whatever, and it's like I'm still making the list. I'm still cleaning up the house, like da 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 da. Josh, brains off. He's playing Candy Crush. TV's on in the background, and the world could literally fall apart. He would have no idea.
Yeah. So that is logic brain versus emotion brain. The male brain, there's one larger part of male brain and there's one larger part of the female brain. The larger part of a male brain is the logic part, and the larger part of the female brain is the emotion part. And so our emotion brain is larger than the males, and their logic brain is larger than ours. And so it is just like going to the gym and pumping iron and building your biceps or your triceps or your quads or your calves or your six pack or like whatever it is you want. You have to use reps. You have to put in the work, and your brain is a muscle. And so usually what I help clients do is either atrophy some of the areas that are like we've dialed that up way too much. That's way too strong. That muscle is way too strong. We got to kind of turn that muscle down. And oh, we got to increase some of the other areas of our brain to put in the reps in that area of the brain.
So in practice, since we did talk about like things we're hearing so much about burnout, right? And you're right, you're getting all those. So many people are positioning that their messaging around burnout, overwhelm, overdoing,
Always are.
etc. Um, and you said, right, we're just like overstimulated. So then if we need to build reps in, what is it? I need more logic. I need to, like, can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, it depends on what individual struggles you're having. It depends on what is going on within your life and your brain. For instance, if you are
Rachel
like,
can't turn off.
yes, if you can't turn off, if your brain is constantly going, we would work on teaching your brain and learning how to turn off and rest, right? So,
Possible? What?
yes.
You do that, Brooke?
Yes.
How? You do so
And wait a
much.
minute, we've just been sitting down watching softball with you the whole time. We could have been actually
I'm just like, how, you do so much. You like, I'm genuinely like, what are you doing?
I mean, I've done this work on myself for many, many years. Again, it doesn't happen overnight, but by definition, I'm a gas pedal. So I'm a seeker of stimuli. I crave movement. I crave light, touch, sound, taste. Like I'm a seeker, but I'm also an avoider. And when I get to be too much, when it's too much, it's too much. And I'm like, I need some alone time. Like I'm done. But I didn't recognize the avoiding tendencies until I really dove in and did the work myself. And so what I was doing is slamming on that gas pedal and just keeping going until I was on the side of the road begging for AAA. And that's when I would crash and burn. And that's how I would regulate, is by crashing and burning, like full blown meltdown, crashing and burning. I haven't crashed and burned and had a full blown meltdown of like, I haven't had that in years,
it's amazing.
years, where I'm like, I'm done. This is it. Like, and what I mean by meltdown is like a tantrum is different than a meltdown. A tantrum is like, you know what you want, you know what you need. A meltdown is like, you can see it in a child more than an adult, where it's like the child wants the peanut butter sandwich cut with no crust, but then they want the crust, but then they want it in triangles, but then they want it in circles. And you're like, at this point, it's in squares. Like, what, like,
Like, I don't know what you want. Like, I
yeah,
can't.
I can't glue the sandwich back together. Like, what do you want, right? That's when you're like, they don't know what they want. They're completely offline. They're completely melting down, and your brain is offline at that point, right? I haven't had a full-blown meltdown. And yes, you have those as adults and as children, but it's easier to see in a child. But we have those as adults. And so yeah, I haven't had one of those in a really long time, but I listen into the cues and take care of my brain and body before I ever get to that place now, like ever.
For Hanukkah, we're gonna get a shirt for Brooke that says "You can't glue the f***ing sandwich back together."
You can't.
I was like, I love that.
You can't glue the sandwich back together. You can't. Literally, Eli had a meltdown one time when he was little about a tortilla, a cheese quesadilla, and I was like, I like, it's already cut. Like, you asked for this. Like, like, can't glue that back together. You know?
So speaking of kids, like, so you're talking a lot about parenting yourself, and the reason you're saying parent yourself to help you parent the kids. And our kids are going through a lot. So, particularly things that we are experiencing, we meaning directly and indirectly, severe anxiety in
Well,
kids,
they're neurodivergent.
neurodivergent, trauma, kids with just anxiety, picking at themselves, hair. I mean, we're seeing this. I'm directly through friends, mamas, things like that, seemingly more than when we were kids.
Oh, 1,000%.
Yeah, like, just because of everything. So, like, do you work with kids, or you think that you first need to work with yourself? Like, what's the whole thought process with the kids?
Yeah. So I would say 90% of the time I work with the parents and I never have to see the child, which is the craziest thing because I feel like I impact the child's life. Like I'm finally impacting children's lives the way that I've always longed to, yet I never see the child. Which is like, oh wow, this is actually working, right? It's finally, after 3 tries, it's finally working. But yes, we also see children because either they're teens and they're old enough to be seen by themselves, or we see them in conjunction with the parents if there's behavioral stuff going on, or if the parents need to understand what's going on, but the child is old enough to have someone else in the mix to understand what the boundaries are or what we can and cannot do. And if there's behavioral things that need kind of tweaking, or all those different things, right? So we do see children, but I think there's a of reasons that we're seeing this more and more with children in this day and age than we did back when you and I were growing up. I think it's number one, social media, what they have access to. Number two, how fast we are going, and their engines are revved because our engines are revved. Our engines are revved because the cost of living and the ability to survive, right, in this day and age is much different than when our parents were growing up, right? If your parents were making $100,000, your family was doing just fine. Like, just a one in front of it, right? Like, you are just fine. And this is like, you can barely survive on that, right? Barely. And be able to give your children what they need with the support they need or whatever it is, right? And now, yes, we all have budgets. We all can survive on whatever it is that we're making, but it just, it, we are all revved because of how fast the world has gone. Yes, it also brings up COVID. And I think a lot of things were sped up because of that in terms of the world of social media and the internet. And just, I think people went up and they utilized social media and they went to the internet and they never got off. They never like went back to, I think the world is still healing in that socializing way of people don't even understand or recognize that that was like a full blown trauma for everyone and that we still have healing to do in that aspect, if you will. I also think it's because way back when, if that was going on with the child, parents hid it. Parents hid it because they were so ashamed to talk about it. They were so ashamed to say, "Oh my gosh, my child's doing that. Oh my gosh, this is so shameful. This shouldn't be what's going on." There's just a lot of different things that have gotten us to the place where we're at. I think it's very healthy that we're talking about it. I think it's very honest that it's something that we are willing to share these days, and it matters because then you don't feel as alone and your child doesn't feel as alone or they don't feel as crazy or they don't feel as broken.
Yeah, and I mean, that's where I think Rachel and I talk about it too, because I try to be very open with my kids about what I've gone through, what's going on, and, we've had the conversation like, well, don't always normalize everything they're going through, but, do we? Like, I'm like, "Well, what you're going through, it's not wrong because I've gone through it at some point in time." And that's where it's like, it's hard to understand, like, because I wanna be one of those parents that shares, that's open, that I want them to realize that they're not alone. Uh, but it's crazy too because
They're also doing things that
if you
just
look at
seem
their
really messed up.
if you look at their text messages too, like these kids are sharing so much more than they've ever shared in their and I'm like, be careful. Like I can remember middle school, like you don't share that stuff, even though they're your best friend. Like you don't know when they're not going to be your best friend tomorrow. And then now that information's got everybody.
It's access. I mean, you know, we have talked and I've talked to multiple people even on, the softball team that are Skylar and Lila's age, and it's access. They are more capable of seeing what's out there and understanding it, and so they're more used to having those conversations, or they're more used to that being something that's okay to do, or okay to look at, or okay to say, or okay to see, and it's not good.
You think it's aging them faster than they should be? It's not letting them stay in their youth, right? It's like pushing them into adulthood
Was
and
their
thinking
brain really ready for it?
it's not even yeah, they're usually
I
not
mean, just
even
talking from
yeah.
like a neuroscience perspective, like if we're barely able to handle it, how are the kids like?
Yeah, as a man, I mean, we're not even ready to handle it till we're 40. So
1,000%. Yeah. There's 2 books, I don't wanna get them wrong. It's Girls on the Edge and then Boys Adrift. I didn't wanna get the 2 mixed up because, there's one about boys and there's one about girls, and it's written by I've read all 3 of his books, by Leonard Sachs, and it's so good on so many angles. Like I read the boy one because of my boys and I read the girl one because of Lila, but also because I support
Yeah,
yeah, everybody.
both, right? And it just talks about why we've gotten to where we've gotten in the world and why our kids are at where they're at and the medicine pandemic of like and I'm not look, I'm not for or against medicine. All parents get to decide That is not something that I feel I have a right to, like, push an agenda on. That's not everyone gets to decide what is best and right for them. But I do want parents to be informed and educated, and it is extremely easy to, when you're in a desperate situation, to look at a doctor and say, "What do we do?" And then just trust the doctor.
Eh, yeah, I've been back and forth on that. I mean, like,
We've been
there's
trying. Yeah, I
you
mean,
try and trust as much as you can. Then I'm like, man, because we're very blessed. We have a very wide group of amazing humans that I've been able to surround myself with, and you as well, that are outside of the box thinkers, that are not traditional medicine, that have done the research in different forms than the average. Now, let's not get it wrong. We are now hitting a point where people are like, oh, Western medicine, they push a whole bunch of, they push the, whatever pills to be able to go through. But we're also seeing that now in the other aspects of like, oh, well, here, just take 50,000 supplements. Or, I mean, look, in our groups, it's, peptides will fix everything.
Peptides will always fix everything. Always, right?
and cold plunges and red light therapy.
Yeah,
And like,
yeah.
this is still marketing. Like, these are markets. These are multi-billion-dollar
Oh,
markets.
yeah. I got this EPMF mat, higher dose sent it to me. This mat is like $1,000 and it is heavy as there are crystals in the whole thing. And there's like EMF and PMF and ions and they send you this little like plastic tube with this little metal nugget in it and they say, "Look, just go to the zone that you're laying on the mat, like if it's zone 6, and you'll be able to see like the little metal nugget jump so that you can see like the ions are working." It literally is like you have to find the exact right spot in like one little spot. And I'm like, how is that going to fix me? Like I'm confused. Like I want to like vibrate the whole like if we're going to do this and someone's going to spend $1,000 on this mat, like it better like ignite your system,
I don't
right?
know.
Like it better like
When I was growing up, they just gave you a little Mexican jumping bean that jumped around and had a little thing. You're like, oh, this is cool. Sounds like the same thing.
yeah, it's just there's so much out there and you really have to be
Well,
careful.
I brought from so I was just at you probably have heard Jim Quick. He's been around for a long time. I was just at his event and I mean like look, we're talking about biohacking galore. I mean, you would have went it's like our playground of all the stuff. And one of the things that, EMF really big thing right now. And I brought home Rachel said, "Oh, you drink this and it actually kills the EMF in your body." She's like, "How is this powder that you're gonna drink gonna be able to stop EMF?" I'm just
And
that's
there's Josh drinking it away. I mean, you do
I
it all.
mean, I want to know what's in it before I put that shit in my body, you
yeah.
know?
I mean, I had a guy
Um,
there that he's like, "Here, put the watch on. It's gonna block EMF for you all day." And I'm like,
right. There's a ton of things out there. Some of them are great and some of them who knows?
but I
Who
mean,
knows?
but we talk about this, right? So like if you were looking at with kids, with parents, with everything going on right now, would you be more worried about them holding a phone up to their face, or would you be more worried about what they're seeing and what they're getting access to now more than ever, or is it different?
That's an unfair question. Um,
You don't have to say
You don't have to again.
it.
it's both, but to give you an idea, my children do not have access to iPads on a regular basis. The only time they have iPads are on a plane. They do not complain. I am not depriving my children of electronics. They are happy as can be. They never ask for it. They don't need it because they don't have it and it's not something that they're used to having, if you will. Did I utilize iPads in like the thick of my grief and I needed like help? You better believe I used it at times when I needed that sucker. Like, oh yeah. But then once I was had more capacity, I was like, okay, we're done. And now they're in my closet, right? And really old ones and they're cracked and who cares? Do I only let my children watch TV on the weekend? No, I don't care. They like if you come home from school and you want to relax, sure, watch TV because there's not a screen in your eyes. Like there's not like literally up close and you're just like swipe, 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 swipe. that literally stimulates your brain. So, like, I know, Rachel, you're like, Josh is like out. He's playing Candy Crush and watching a thing. Like, that's Josh stimming. Like, that's Josh trying to regulate between watching the TV and holding the device. Like, could you do one thing? Like, could you watch the TV? Most of us can't just watch TV anymore. Most of us have the fucking phone in our hand and we're watching TV, right? Now, in terms of access, my kids watch YouTube every now and then, and I'll look at them and I'll be like, you're literally rotting your brain. Like, what are you watching? Like, you're watching someone open up a box or like,
It's the things they watch on YouTube, let's yeah, we can watching someone el like, at least you could be playing a game. Now you're just watching someone else play a game, and I'm like,
exactly. So that I'm like, turn that off. Like that's like rotting your brain. Charlie, my older one, he will literally watch things to learn. Like he comes up to me and he talks to me about these things that he's learned. And I'm like, cool, dude. I can see the history. I know that he's not getting into anything he shouldn't be getting into. Do I allow my children to watch YouTube for hours and hours? No. I'm like, y'all be done with TV. Like, it's been an hour. Go outside and go play. And they're out in the neighborhood till dinner, you know? So we have a good balance, but not everyone has that. Not everyone has a neighborhood that they can just be like, y'all go outside and play with your neighbors, you know?
well, so Rachel, we're not doing too bad that Ava knows to pick up the, at 2, knows to pick up the Alexa remote and be like, "Paw Patrol."
No, it's fine. She'll be fine. It's totally fine.
Marshall, Marshall, I
Because
feel like
I look at that as just like a help.
failure.
Like, someone's gotta help, like, the more the merrier, right? Like, it's gonna be turned on one way or another, so, like,
She's figured it out, she knows.
self-sufficient, right?
Yeah.
Independence.
Okay. Oh my God. There's like so many more things I want to ask, but we don't have forever. We know that. From the business side for you, I love, you've obviously grown a beautiful audience and it continues to grow. You show up real, like you're dancing. It's very like you do most your videos, right? Like on Instagram. Is that natural for you? Like, do you feel, you like to do it? So, talk about building your brand. Okay, so you're shaking your head for those listening. So, how do you actually show up like that authentically, create your content? Like, talk a little bit about that.
So, I'm not gonna lie, when you first start and you decide to embark on utilizing social media as a marketing tool, right? I knew I never wanted to be a walking, talking advertisement, like, ever. It's not my thing. I knew what I was going on there to do. I knew, right, as I like I said, as I processed through, I didn't wanna have a brick and mortar anymore. I knew what I wanted to do. I wanted to work with parents. I wanted to do nervous system. I knew what I wanted to do. My messaging had to evolve over time in terms of, like, listening to my audience, hearing what they liked, what they didn't like. However, I danced since the age of 2, and I have loved being on the stage. Like, I didn't wanna go to college. I wanted to go to LA and dance. Like, I wanted to be a dancer. Like, one of Taylor Swift's backup dancers was my roommate at my dance camp that I used to go to in California every summer. And I'm not putting that to like drop. I'm not a Swifty person. It's just I was in that world and I really wanted to continue being in that world. But my parents were like, best of luck. And I was like, okay, I guess I need to go get an education. I'll do what my parents tell me to do. It's a line for me because it's allowed me to have an outlet of creative dance, have fun, and just be goofy and show my fun side. And over the years, I would say, and as you continue doing it, you just stop giving a and you just start, and not that I don't care, but it's more of like I step more into myself every year of like, I'm just gonna say the thing. Like, I'm gonna say it because I care. And if you don't like what I'm saying, then you don't know who I am, and that's okay. And but like the only thing I say is because I care, right? And so it has evolved and I've loved it and it's worked for me. And from a business perspective, at the end of the day, it's allowed me to reach more people than I ever would have reached if I had done another brick and mortar, as well as being a widow, having 2 children. I did not, and I started this business before Jonathan passed. I did not want to be a victim of my circumstance. And I wanted to be able to continue to build and grow or have the life that I wanted for myself and my children. And that meant that I needed to still be able to be there for them, but also, solo parenting, I'm emotional support and financial support. I'm everything, right? So I needed to make sure that I could build this in a way that was sustainable and build it in a way that was supportive to my nervous system and to practicing what I preach and building a team around me that I can trust and rely on and have boundaries of steel. Like I only work from 10:30 to 3. Like that's it. And I'm off on Fridays. And that's it. Like that's it.
I love it. Brooke, I think the next podcast series we're going to start is going to be, two parents watching softball. Because I mean, the amount of things that you and I say back and forth as we're watching our 14 youth little girls. I mean, I being entertaining. I mean, you want to talk about real and authentic.
Well, I mean, sometimes it's watching the parents too, right?
It's mostly watching the parents.
You remember that time I was called Sarah? I was like, oh yeah, that's not my name, but hi, nice to see you too. Yeah, that was interesting.
Oh, this is fun.
Well, I mean, it's
yeah.
I just the cool part, I think, Brooke, is like you show up really authentically, but you have the reps and credibility to do that.
Thank you.
And so part of what we talk a lot with Humanize, but being an authority is like you need to have subject matter expertise.
Yeah.
Like you need to have the experience and be legit. And we are in a trust.
Wait, you're telling me there's people out there that aren't legit and are giving advice?
Exactly. And I think obviously you've done this schooling and you have the credibility, which also has given you confidence. And you've also had a lot of challenges, and that also builds the vulnerability and then authenticity. And it's just a really great example, I think, for those that watch or listen.
Yeah.
And in doing that practice, your business continues to grow, and you continue more than anything get to really support families and impact the world in a positive way. And that's amazing. And so just thank you for doing that.
Thank you. I think the biggest thing is if you're going to walk the walk and talk the talk, you better know what you're doing, because if not, you're not going to make it or you're not going to succeed long term, right? Money doesn't grow on trees. Time, energy, effort doesn't grow on trees. And if I'm going to promise someone something, I'm going to deliver. And that means I have to know that means I have to know what I'm talking about. And I have to practice what I preach, but also promise them that this is going to be different than what you've done in the past, right? This is going to be something that is going to actually work. And for me also, it was like the stakes are too high, right? You guys know, like, mental health is a real thing. The stakes are too high. Like I wanted to make sure that I'm emotionally there and able and capable for my children, and that my children are emotionally stable and able to have the tools that they need to have in order to be able to support their own mental health, because clearly mental health runs in our family because of Jonathan. And so for me, there is no other choice than to understand the brain and to do it in the correct way. This isn't like a quick, I don't know, Ponzi like selling scheme. Like that's just not my thing.
Well, Brooke, I mean, we get to see you too. I mean, that's the beautiful thing. Like, we can sit here and say that we see you with your boys, right? Like, we see you not only with your boys at their games and all the stuff that you run around for there, but for Lila as well too. And I mean, unless you're actually doing what you practice every single day, you wouldn't be able to be that single parent that's going to multiple different sports games for three different kids out multiple days a week and running such a successful business and finding time to be able to do Instagram content where you dance.
It's yeah, it's a lot, but I'm grateful and I love what I do. I think that makes a huge difference. If you love what you do, then you want to get up in the morning and you want to do it.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for hanging out with us today. We appreciate your perspective. We're going to have all the information on Brooke and her programs and all that in the show notes that you could check out. But with that, that's a wrap on this episode. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
If today's episode sparked something in you, you don't have to keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who's building something with heart. And hit subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next.
If you're ready to humanize your brand now and show up with soul, grab our free guide, 3 Hidden Signals, at standoutauthority.com/3, the number 3, hidden signals. We'll see you soon.